There's a moment in every person's life when silence becomes the loudest proof of wisdom, when the urge to defend yourself feels heavy, but the peace of restraint feels divine. The world is full of noise, opinions thrown like stones, arguments that breed only more confusion, people who speak not to understand but to dominate. It's a world addicted to reaction, where ego is louder than truth, and fools often mistake volume for intelligence. The Stoics, however, live by a different code. They believe that arguing with fools weakens the soul. For the fool does not seek understanding, he seeks victory. He debates not to find truth, but to protect pride. When you lower yourself to argue with such a person, you do not win. You simply join their chaos. This message is not about arrogance. It's about wisdom. It's about learning when to speak and when to walk away, when to hold your peace as if it were sacred, and when to let silence say what words cannot. If you've ever felt drained after trying to explain yourself to someone who refuses to listen, if you've ever walked away from an argument feeling smaller rather than understood, this message is for you. Before we begin, remember to subscribe to Beyond Vision Mindset, where ancient philosophy meets modern strength. Together we rise above the noise, master our emotions, and build the kind of calm no fool can destroy. 1. A fool's argument is a trap for the mind. The first truth the Stoics understood was simple. A fool doesn't argue to learn, he argues to win. His purpose is not dialogue but domination. His weapon is not truth but noise. And the moment you engage with him, you've already lost. Not because your ideas lack strength, but because your peace has been stolen. Epictetus warned, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." The fool's heart is closed. His ears hear, but his mind rejects. He confuses stubbornness for conviction and noise for wisdom. When you step into his chaos, you step into a storm where reason has no air to breathe. You may believe that by debating, you can open his eyes, but the fool's blindness is chosen, and no light, no matter how bright, can guide a man who refuses to see. I've been there. I once believed every argument was worth my energy. I wanted to defend my perspective, to correct the ignorant, to prove I was right. But all it ever gave me was exhaustion. Over time, I learned a bitter truth. The wise don't chase validation. They guard their energy. You cannot reason with a mind that delights in confusion. So when you find yourself faced with foolishness, remember this: silence is not surrender, it is strategy. The wise don't fight battles where victory brings no peace. 2. Reaction is the enemy of inner peace. Every argument steals a piece of your stillness. Every heated exchange leaves behind a residue of chaos in the mind. Marcus Aurelius taught that our peace is determined not by what others say, but by how we choose to respond. A fool's goal is not to win with reason, but to provoke reaction, to make you abandon the calm that protects your strength. When you let anger take control, you become what you oppose. You mirror the very foolishness you despise, and that's how the fool wins. Not through intellect, but through your loss of composure. The Stoics believe that mastery begins where reaction ends. A person who cannot control their emotions is a slave to anyone who can trigger them. If every insult moves you, every disagreement shakes you, and every fool pulls you into their chaos, then your peace is not truly yours. It belongs to the world. I remember once being publicly mocked for my calmness. I was told that my silence meant weakness, that I should defend myself. But I understood something deeper. When you don't react, you rob the fool of the power he craves. My peace was not a weakness, it was armor. Every time you resist the urge to argue, you strengthen the wall between your emotions and the noise outside. You begin to live by a higher law, the law of mastery. In a world where everyone reacts, stillness becomes your rebellion. 3. The ego wants to be right. The soul wants to be free. The ego is a hungry beast. It feeds on recognition, on praise, on being right. But the soul seeks freedom. And no soul can be free while chained to the need to prove itself. Arguing with fools is the ego's favorite addiction. It whispers, "Show them you're smarter. Show them they're wrong." But the more you obey that voice, the further you drift from peace. You start living in a battlefield of opinions, and slowly your spirit becomes weary. I once lived this way, defending every point, correcting every misunderstanding, proving every fool wrong. But it left me hollow. My words became weapons, not expressions of truth. And every victory felt like defeat, because I lost something deeper, my serenity. The Stoics taught that the wise person seeks alignment with truth, not dominance over others. When you let go of the need to be right, you gain something far greater, tranquility. You no longer waste energy convincing the blind to see. You realize that truth needs no defense. It stands firm in silence. So the next time someone tries to bait you into argument, ask yourself, do I want to be right or do I want to be free? The ego fights for recognition. The soul rests in understanding. Choose freedom always. 4. Your silence is a mirror that exposes the fool. There's an ancient kind of power in saying nothing. Silence confuses those who depend on your reaction. It reflects their chaos back at them. And slowly they begin to crumble under the weight of their own noise. Seneca wrote, "Anger, if not restrained, is more harmful to us than the injury that provokes it." When you remain calm in the face of foolishness, you expose the emptiness behind the fool's words. Your silence becomes their mirror, showing them what they truly are: lost, insecure, desperate to be heard. Once I was targeted by someone whose only aim was to humiliate me. They mocked, twisted my words, and tried to provoke me into fury. My silence was like a wall. They grew louder, desperate for reaction. But the more they spoke, the smaller they appeared. Eventually, their noise collapsed under its own emptiness. I walked away untouched. They were left alone, with themselves. That is the hidden art of Stoicism, to let your silence do the talking, to understand that words have power, but restraint has dominion. A fool thrives on chaos. Deny them that, and you defeat them without a sound. 5. Arguing with fools pollutes the soul. The Stoics often compared the mind to a sacred garden. Whatever thoughts you allow in will grow. Arguing with fools is like letting weeds invade that garden. It may seem harmless at first, but over time, it chokes the flowers of peace and gratitude. When you engage with ignorance, you absorb its energy. You find yourself replaying conversations, reliving anger, losing focus. Foolishness spreads like fire. It consumes your stillness, your joy, your purpose. Seneca warned, associate with people who are likely to improve you. The fool cannot improve you, they can only drain you. To argue with them is to invite corruption into your mind. But when you walk away, you preserve your purity. I've learned that peace is not found by avoiding people, but by mastering what you give your attention to. A fool cannot harm you unless you let their words live rent-free in your head. Don't water their presence with your time. Let it die of neglect. Protect your inner world the way you protect your body from poison, by refusing to consume it. When you stop arguing with fools, you stop feeding the darkness that grows in them. You keep your own light clear and untouched. 6. Wisdom chooses battles worth fighting. Not all disagreements are foolish. Some are necessary for truth. But the Stoics knew how to tell the difference. They asked one question before every confrontation: will this argument help me grow in virtue, or only feed my pride? If the answer is pride, they walked away. True wisdom does not fight for ego, it fights for understanding. And if understanding is impossible, silence is the only intelligent choice. There are arguments that build bridges, and there are arguments that burn time. Fools argue to win. The wise discuss to understand. The fool leaves every conversation smaller. The wise leave it enlightened. I've met people who live only to argue. Their minds are battlegrounds where truth is never the goal, only noise. They mistake aggression for confidence and persistence for intelligence. But you can always tell who is wise. The wise have nothing to prove. They speak only when it adds value. Wisdom is restraint. It's knowing that your silence can teach louder lessons than your words ever could. 7. Walking away is the ultimate victory. The greatest strength a person can show is not in fighting, but in walking away with dignity. The fool believes silence means defeat. But the Stoics knew that silence means sovereignty. It means you value your peace more than your pride. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." That is the Stoic code. Rise above, don't retaliate. When the fool curses, you stay calm. When they provoke, you stay grounded. That is victory. I've walked away from countless arguments where my silence hurt more than any words could. Because silence isn't empty, it's full of power. It says, I am beyond this. Every time you walk away from a fool, you are not retreating, you are ascending. You are choosing freedom over noise, clarity over chaos, dignity over dominance. True strength is not loud, it is still, it is calm, it is unshakable. Remember this, fools argue to feel strong. The wise stay silent to remain strong. The next time someone tries to drag you into their chaos, ask yourself, what do I gain by responding? Protect your peace like it's gold, because it is. Don't waste your breath proving your worth to those who cannot see it. Don't explain your soul to those who are blind to it. Simply walk away. With grace, with silence, with pride. If this message spoke to your heart, subscribe to Beyond Vision Mindset. This is where ancient wisdom meets modern strength. Support through coffee, super chat, or stickers if you wish to keep these messages alive. Protect your mind, guard your energy, and above all, be the calm in a world addicted to chaos. Rise above, stay silent, be unshakable,